Oh, hello, and happy Warhammer Day. Today's video is a roundup of all the Kill Team news from the Warhammer Day 2023 presentation. So if you were totally unaware, if you've been living under a rock, today is in fact Warhammer Day, and Games Workshop did a reveals stream on Twitch, and they did lots of things. There was some 40k, some Age of Sigmar, loads of stuff for the old world. But today we're just going to be looking at the Kill Team stuff. So let's look, first of all, big bird's eye overview of the actual products themselves. So, as has been speculated, they are splitting the Kill Team big box into two boxes. There'll be a smaller box with two teams and a smattering of terrain, a small amount, and then another box with the new kill zone in. I'm going to be surprised if the box with the two teams isn't £80 and the terrain box isn't £67.50. Being as these were the prices of the very similar Warcry releases that just came out. But they could always decide to put the prices up over time. That is what Games Workshop likes to do. And, you know, it is a 40k release, and I can very much see that Kill Team Salvation box is going to be incredibly popular, because it has Scouts and Striking Scorpions for 40k players, and it doesn't have a whole load of terrain that the 40k players don't want, and it's going to be cheaper than a big Kill Team box. So, you know, 40k players went nuts and bought a massive Kill Team box just to get 10 Kazakh in. Think how they're going to go for this. So all I'm saying is, Games Workshop, you better have halved the box size so you can produce twice as many units, yeah? But in general, I think this is a fantastic change, because I'm assuming there's only going to be one new terrain kill zone release this season, as we had last season, right? So instead of constantly reselling us boxes with the core terrain in for the season again and again and again, and then having to try and shift that terrain on eBay, we'll just get the box once, and then, or not, you know, depending on what you want to do. And then, yeah, after that, you're just buying the little Kill Team boxes, which is, I think, it's a win. Yeah, it does mean that this first box overall is going to cost you more, but it does mean that if you're like me and you want to collect the whole season, hopefully you're just going to end up buying the smaller boxes going later down the line, which is a good thing, I think. So let's start by looking at the kill zone, because certainly this is the thing that's the most exciting to me. Actually, more than either of the teams. Maybe that makes you weird, I don't know. Let me know in the comments. So I was pretty spot on with sort of my most recent speculation of it being a kind of sci-fi version of Rivertown. So it is indeed walkways and gantries over water. So I'm pretty zazzed about that part. It certainly isn't jungle, and for a while I thought it might be jungle. I kind of drifted away from the jungle thing. I know there have been some other people out there on the internet, looking at you, can you roll a crit, who have been sort of adhering to the jungle vibes right until the end. But nope, there's not a jungle leaf in sight, it turns out, on this board. So interesting. We didn't get very much in the way of rules detail for how this would work as a new way to play. You know, Eddie said that the water is very deadly. You know, so maybe it's going to be similar to those rules that were published in White Dwarf. So if you're in the water and more than an inch away from terrain, and you activate, you take D3 mortal wounds. Certainly, if the way the terrain has been set up in that second shot is a thing, I can see people being tempted to do jump tests and risking falling in the water and then having to swim to somewhere to climb up. It does look like, if you look here, it looks like there are ladders modelled on to the insides of the bridgey pieces to help you get out of the water. So, you know, maybe that's going to be the mechanic. I do think that Harlequins are going to have a wonderful time on this terrain, but, you know, I don't think that's a massive problem, just in the same way that there are some teams that do better on Into the Dark, and there are some teams that do better on Open World. There will be some teams that do better on whatever this Beta Decima stuff. We're not going to actually call it Beta Decima, are we, for the rest of the year? But, you know, I do think that there will be some teams that naturally do better on it. I think that's fine. There's a two-sided mat, so we get a full picture of this, I'm going to call it the swimming pool layout, because it's a square rectangular pool of water in the middle, and it's got the printed on floor all the way around the side. And then we see half a shot of the other layout. So this looks pretty similar, except that there seems to be, I think this is 2D printed on here. So there's a bit of floor and a circular piece in the middle here. And then it's a bit hard to see what's going on with perspective. I think this here is a flat piece that's printed on the board, and then this here is a piece of 3D terrain. And then if you look over here, there's just a hint of a bit of water here as well. So there's like a piece of printed terrain and a piece of water here. So the mat is actually part of the game. It looks like, and there are areas that are defined as being the water, and there are other areas that are defined as being places where you can stand. So that's novel. It's interesting. It's new. I quite like it. I've got right down the bottom here the quote from the article they put up. So, a ferrotonic furnace with a redesigned platform and ramparts, 8 modular gantries, 2 large, 2 small, and 4 medium, and 9 industrial-themed objective markers. Now, this I'm not seeing anyone talking about this. This is really interesting. So, they've given us some 3D objective markers. I would assume that the competitive Kill Team players, and Kill Team is a game that's played with a very competitive mindset, are going to heat these into the bin. I can't see that Kill Team is a game that wants 3D objective markers, unless, of course, when you're playing, whatever the Killzone Beta Decima special rules are for it, you objective markers work differently, and you can't stand. You're not measuring from the center of them; you're measuring from the edge of them, and you can't stand on them. And then you would want the 3D objectives. It's also really interesting that there are 9, and not 6, because so far in both Into the Dark and Season 1, we had 6 objectives, and now we've been given 9, which seems like a lot of objectives, assuming that the board size hasn't changed. So I don't know how to read into that. Maybe, it could be that Games Workshop just put them in there because there's some extra plastic and they seem cool. And Games Workshop likes a 3D objective, but the more competitive players, and I would have thought most players, would ignore them in that case, or they're actually a deeply enmeshed part of the rules for this mode of play, and they've decided to make it so that the objectives, for whatever reason, are a 3-dimensional thing, and you measure from the edges of them, which, yeah, it's fine. I mean, that's, within Games Workshop's gift to make, as long as we get sort of clarity about which is which, what's happening, that's fine. But I thought I'd mention it. I don't really like this terrain. There's nothing wrong with it. If you've never played 40k before, or Kill Team, or whatever, and you've not got a big collection of terrain, it's fine. But it's kind of just remixed Adeptus Mechanicus stuff, right? If you've got the Sector Mechanicus that's been around for a long time now, and it was most recently for Kill Team as it was the terrain used in Killzone Nachmund, right? And in fact, this here is a ferrotonic furnace, so the bottom part of this is actually old, and then they've given it a new lid, right? And there's nothing wrong with that per se. I just have a lot of... I'm going to buy this because I have the YouTube channel, and because I want to buy a set and build it in the official competitive, proper layout way, with the pieces as Games Workshop say in the book that you should have it, these pieces and all the rest of it. But I've painted a lot of this stuff, and I've got more of it on the sprue. I've got the entire of... People who've been following the channel for a very long time will know that the initial battle reports that we did for Kill Team were done on some Sector Mechanicus stuff that I used for Kill Team 18. That's very narrative and glued together in a very sort of narrative way. And then I've got the entire of Killzone Nachmund still on sprue, because Mrs. T.I. said she was going to build and paint it and hasn't got around to it yet. And then was this. Now, Oro on the Discord put it to me that he's kind of looking forward to it because, like me, he has a lot of Sector Mechanicus stuff knocking around, and it could potentially be really good to have a full 40k tables worth of this stuff, and it will match in really nicely with the other stuff. But I just don't know how... I'm not a 40k expert by any means, but from what I've learned of 40k, you kind of want ruins with the little bases. Now, I don't know whether you could put a little bit of bridge on a bit of floor and say, look, it's a ruin. I don't know if that's too abstract for people, but I think just as is, using the rules in the book, where none of this would be defined as ruins, I think it would make a pretty poor 40k table. I've actually been thinking about getting rid of a lot of my Sector Mechanicus stuff, and the only thing that's stopping me is that it's painted, because I don't see how it works very well for 40k, and I don't see how it works very well for kill teams and stuff that I've got and the way it's built. So I don't know how enthused I am, but I'm definitely going to buy it for having the set, the proper set, modularly laid out. But it doesn't excite me, and I feel like if you're spending nearly £70 on something, it should make you grin like a fool and not just be like, oh well, I've got to buy this and build this because I want to experience. The gameplay might be really good. We don't know anything about the gameplay. I'm judging this purely on its aesthetics value as an object. And as an object, it doesn't thrill me just because it's a remix of something that's been around for a very long time. Speaking of aesthetics, the board's printed with the red paint scheme that they've used on the studio pieces here. So, I really feel like you have to paint. You could change up the grey bits and do them all metal if you wanted to, but I kind of feel like you have to follow whatever paint guide they put out for the tops of all the terrain pieces, of all the plastic pieces. I'm really going to feel like I have to follow that guide because I want my terrain to match the printed board that I've got. But then it won't match any of my other set of Mechanicus terrain, which at the moment is all sprayed with, it's all silvery with, it's like silver tops to match in with the bases that they've done that match in with this terrain. That's all silvery, and then with there's some red on the walls of my ferrotonic furnace. So, it's not a bad colour scheme. It just, by printing it on the map like that, they have basically said, yeah, you're going to have to paint it a certain way or it's going to look really odd. So I don't know what I think about that either. So, kind of mixed for me. Mechanically, I like the terrain. I like the idea of the water. I like the idea that you could go to a tournament and you've got Into the Dark's kind of prejudiced against combat teams, but this new thing is kind of prejudiced in favour of shooting teams, and then you've got the Season 1 stuff, which is sort of, depends how you've laid out the table. I think in a world where I'm playing a lot of Into the Dark, and a lot of Season 1 using the Turning Point Tactics map packs that are very dense, this is going to be really refreshing and interesting, because it's going to lead to it's a lot more open, there's going to be a lot more static play and a lot more shooting, which could make the game more boring, but I think as a contrast to the way it's being played at the moment, it'll be really interesting. Now, because it's that contrast, right, certainly to the UK meta, where currently we're all using the TPT map packs, which are very dense and do kind of preclude a lot of shooting. I am a little bit worried that the competitive community is going to have a yuck reaction to this at first. But I was listening actually to Turning Point Tactics the other day, and been over to Spain and won his golden ticket over at the Spanish event, and was talking that the Spanish Season 1 boards are more open with more kind of shooting and gunplay and people holding vantage points. So maybe to the Spanish meta, this will seem less weird, and so they'll embrace it, and if they embrace it, I think we'll end up embracing it. So that's interesting to me. Right, okay, enough pontificate. The terrain was the exciting part to me. Yeah, but going in, it's the bit I wanted to know about. So let's have a look at the other product they announced, Salvation. So Salvation is the other box, which is what I think is going to be about 80 quid. It's going to have our two teams in, so we get 10 Striking Scorpions and 10 Space Marine Scouts. We also get, I'm pretty confused because the article said 6 pieces of terrain, and the picture shows 5 pieces of terrain, so you're going to get some little bits of terrain. And I am imagining that there's going to be 3 more boxes like this coming this year, where you get 2 teams and a smattering of terrain that matches in with the overall terrain set. Now, some interesting things to note about this, to be fair. This set contains the book, the Kill Team Salvation book, and the Salvation book, just like all the orange books we've seen so far, it contains the rules for the teams, but it also contains the rules for the kill zone. So that means, if you don't care about the kill zone, you just want the teams, you can just buy Salvation and you're fine. But if you just wanted the kill zone, you're going to have to either pirate the rules or buy the Salvation box just to get the book, which will tell you how to play within your kill zone. So people that just wanted this season's new Killzone to play with their existing teams, which I would think there'd be more people out there. Well, okay, no, that's not true, because 40k players exist. But if you were looking at just the kill team demographic, I would think there's more people out there that are like, well, I've got my kill teams that I love, Scouts and Scorpions don't speak to me, but I definitely want to learn the new way to play. You're going to have to buy, if you want that official legit copy of the rules, you're going to have to buy this box as well. But then again, there'll be lots of 40k players buying the box for the Scouts and the Scorpions, right? So maybe if you go onto eBay, you'll find a lot of Kill Team Salvation rules manuals. I don't know if you can hear Penny's joining in with the video. There's not a lot I can do about that. You get reference cards for, it says, the team's data cards, TAC Ops, abilities, ploys, and equipment cards. So, like, well, it looks like we're totally changing tack in terms of, we've not been provided with cards. They had a brief thing of giving us the TAC Op cards in White Dwarf, but then they weren't the right size to blend in with the TAC Ops deck, and so people stopped using them. Be nice if we get TAC Ops cards for these that are tarot sized, right? I'm assuming by TAC Ops it means the TAC Ops, the 6 TAC Ops for the Striking Scorpions and the Scouts, right? The Kill Team specific ones. But we're getting ability cards, ploy cards, equipment cards. Sounds like we're getting a lot of cards, which is, I don't mind a card. I quite like a card. Strikeforce Justion will have all their data sheets on cards. Does this mean in the next edition of Kill Team, we're going to be awash with cards? Are they going to sell card packs for the Season 1 and Season 2 Kill Teams to people who want cards? Games Workshop going to come out with a huge array of cards? It's interesting. I'm not against cards, but it's weird to me that they're suddenly going all in on cards in the last season of the game, presumably before they redo the game, because Games Workshop loves a 3-year cycle. So that's interesting. It's also pretty interesting to me that you're getting TAC Ops. That you're getting a token sheet. Are they going to be the same old token sheets we've had for 2 years, or are they going to do like a Scout and a Striking Scorpion themed token sheet? Because if you think back to Kill Team 2018, everybody got their own little token sheet that was bespoken for their team. So maybe they're going to do that. Who knows? But no mention of the barricades or the measuring tools. So even though this is the first box of a season, if this is your starting point to Kill Team, you're going to have to go and pick up the Crit Ops deck. You're going to have to go pick up the Kill Team Essentials pack. Now, it's possible, like Into the Dark, right? It's possible that they think some of these are barricades. This looks suspiciously shaped like one of the Into the Dark barricades. But for, competitive play or reasonable match play, people are going to want you to have the little thin, the standard barricades from that Kill Team Essentials set. So after your first couple of games, you're going to want to go and pick that up as well. Which is, it's just, they've changed up how the products are. So I just want to point this stuff out because the material change to how the products are laid out. Right. All right. Okay. I've kept you in suspense for like 18 minutes. Let's talk about the teams. I know that most people care mainly about the teams. So the Striking Scorpions, what do we know? We don't know. We know quite a lot, actually, about the Striking Scorpions. So in the box, you get 10 models. Okay. I think it's going to be 2 repeated. Yeah, it is. Because if you look here at this pair of legs, 1 leg on a rock and 1 leg down here, and he's kind of squatting. And here's that pair of legs again. Right. And there's that pair of legs, and there it is again. And there's that pair of legs, and there it is again. So it's 2 boxes of 5. Okay? There's that pair of... In fact, there's that pair, and that pair, and that pair, and that pair. You can always tell with these kits with the legs where they've repeated themselves. So it's 2 boxes of 5. That's fine. Don't mind that. The Exarch has some choice. So on the stream, they talked about having a Scorpion Claw, which I think is what he's armed with here, or a dual chainsword. So two chainswords, or a double-handed chainsword. Your choice. A little bit of controversy. So it said that you get in case you don't know, since in all the reasonably recent Eldar releases, they've been including Bearhead options for people that want to do Ynnari-themed Craftworld Eldar. So the Ynnari have kind of broken away from the craft worlds, and they are worshipping the Eldar god of death rather than following the sort of whatever, the Cain, the craft world Eldar. Even though the team's called Blades of Cain, right? But it still comes with the Ynnari, so you can have Ynnari worshipping ones or Cain worshipping ones. Fine, but my understanding is that the sort of standard craft world Eldar Cain worshipping striking scorpions should all have helmets. And the Ynnari ones none of them should have helmets, because Ynnari guys don't wear hats. So I think a team like this, where they've put some without the hats on, and some with the hats on, is wrong. Now, it's me being, obviously they're your models, and build them and paint them how you like. If you're someone that cares about these things, I think this is wrong by the pre-existing law. Now, obviously they've done it like this now, so probably they're going to change the law. But if you want to have things in the most appropriate way, I think they should either all have hats or none of them have hats. And if none of them have hats, so the Ynnari worshippers, they should be red. Either the whole thing, it's up to you how you do that. Either the whole thing's painted red, or you stick a red accent colour on there. But that's a whole thing. But technically, I think this is wrong. But let me know in the comments, am I being too much of a grog about that? Probably I am, right? Telling people that they can't glue on certain heads that come with the kit, and that the heavy metal team have done things wrong, and it makes me kind of the worst person on the internet. But just checking, right? Now, again, because of the law, I'm not a massive Eldar. Despite that ramble, I really like Ynnari. So I did a bit of research into that when it all came out in the Gathering, in the the Gathering Storm and all that sort of stuff. But in general, I'm not a massive Eldar nerd. But something to do with their lore, Aspect Warriors, they all have the same equipment, right? So they haven't got a medic and a comms and a veteran and a sniper and all these things. They're a 40, they don't look like a kill team. I said this in the Discord when I was running through doing my commentary. They don't look like a kill team. They look like a 40k squad. It's only the Exarch that has any options. But they did say, everyone was quite down on this team when it first appeared, but then they said this, which won everybody back. So you can mix in other Aspect Warriors. You don't get them in the box, but you go and buy some Howling Banshees and Dire Avengers were the ones specifically called out twice, but they did also say plastic Aspect Warriors, so maybe you can put Dark Reapers in there as well. But I wouldn't buy any Dark Reapers until the rules come out, but you could buy some Banshees and some Dire Avengers if you wanted to be prepared. So you can mix them up. Now, Eddie said he thinks it's a 9-model team. I think it probably is a 9-model team, because all the other elf teams, apart from Harlequins, have been a 9-model team. So, and he said something about there are bonuses for leaning into one aspect, and there are other bonuses that you get for being a mixed aspect. And his words were having a bit of everything. So my suspicion, and it is speculation, is that you're going to have probably tac ops, right? And if you go all Striking Scorpions, or all Howling Banshees, or all Dire Avengers, you'll probably unlock, like Chaos Marks, you'll unlock one or two things that you wouldn't otherwise have, right? So you'll probably have, here's 2 that you unlock for having a Striking Scorpion in your team, and here's the other, 1 or 2 Striking Scorpion ones that you unlock if you're all Striking Scorpions. So I think that means that if you go all Striking Scorpions, you'll have the right number of ploys. This is my speculation. Or if you mix all 3, you'll have the right number of ploys. But if you decided for whatever reason to build a team where you were half Banshees and half Scorpions, because maybe you thought that the Dire Avengers models are really old, and so maybe you didn't want them, right? Then I think you might actually put yourself, this is, I've not seen the rules, so I don't know. This is entirely my speculation. Get it right, Phil. This is entirely my speculation, but that is what people are here for. I think you'd be putting yourself at a mechanical disadvantage, quite possibly, if you were to just go for Banshees and Scorpions, say, or just Dire Avengers and Scorpions, or Banshees and Dire Avengers. And my suspicion is that you'll want to mix all 3, or just pick 10 of one, right? And knowing Games Workshop, something like 10 Dire Avengers is going to end up being the strongest build, right? It's going to be something really weirdly out there, but you know, what are you going to do? Personally, I really hope that 10 Banshees is not rubbish, because I think building and painting for me, I play Sisters of Battle. I love the girl miniatures. I think it's more fun for me. I like painting little tiny girls. That's cool. So I think that because I'm a pervert, maybe, I don't know. There's something there, but I think 10 Howling Banshees or 9 Howling Banshees, and I'd do them all as Yaniri Banshees, perhaps with all red armor or like a red stripe on the bone or something. I just think that'd look really cool. So I'm kind of hoping that, whereas the Scorpions do very little for me, I don't like the hats, don't like the colour, don't like the backpacks, don't like the lore. So, but if all Banshees turns out to be vaguely a thing, and I'm saying it now, rules unseen, because what would embarrass me more than admitting that I just like painting tiny plastic girl models, what would embarrass me more is if Banshee, like, or 10 Banshees, or 9 Banshees, I should say, came out and they were like filth, and then I was like, I'm going to do a Banshees kill team, and everyone would be like, Phil, don't be doing the ridiculous filth. So I'm saying it's something I'd like to do. I'm saying it now. So in case that the rules turn out they're really, really good, and I start to do them, people don't complain. Very important. Right, and that's enough about the Eldar. Let's have a look at the Scouts squad. So there's not so much I want to add here, because I already did a video about this with the orange bases. Turns out the bases are more red than orange, but they looked orange to me at the time. Maybe my eyes don't work. I don't know. So the big thing here is there's no new plastic that we've not already seen. A lot of people were kind of hoping that we'd get all the Scouts that we'd seen, plus like there'd be a kill team upgrade sprue with even more cool stuff on for the Scouts. So it seems like the leader's not going to have any options like a power sword or a thunder hammer or a power fist, and we haven't got any other things. So it looks like our specialists are, like I said, there's this Auspex guy here, and there's this grapple pistol guy here, and here's our leader, and we got a sniper, and we got 2 heavy gunners. I think given that that's all there is, and there's not any more, I think it actually seems reasonably likely that you're going to be able to take both heavy gunners, just to give the team a bit of texture. Now, whether you want to have 3 things with heavy rule, potentially, like a heavy bolter, and a missile launcher, and a sniper rifle, if that's a wise choice, I don't know. But then maybe Scouts will get access to suspensors, and they'll be able to buy off their heavy rule. I don't know. Honestly, because there's nothing else for the Scouts, I'm kind of a bit... They're just going to be a 10-man team with a 4-up save. It's going to depend a lot on what their special rules are, to reflect their Space Marine Scout nature, because at the moment they just feel very... They're going to be like BS3 Kazakin, but with less access to cool guns at the moment. So obviously, these are one of those teams where, like a lot of teams recently, but these are one of those teams where the kind of the team is going to be in the special rules. It's not going to be in what you look at. It's not going to be in looking at the models and going, oh yeah, good, because 6 guys with bolters plus a missile launcher and a sniper and a guy with a chainsaw isn't great, right? But I think these are going to come out one of 2 ways. They're either going to be really, because they're a special rules-based team, they're either going to come out and they're going to be bad, and they're going to need loads of buffs, or they're going to come out and they're going to be broken filthiness, because they, their special rule just lets them like forward deploy 7 guys or something, right? So we'll see. Now, it wasn't confirmed in the stream, but it does seem very likely to me that these are going to be a 10-man team. So you'll feel all 10. I think that's where they're going with these. It mentioned that there was 10, but it could have been that there's just 10 in the box. But I feel like they're going to be a 4-wound APL2 10-man team. Sorry, not 4-wound, a 4-up save APL2 10-man team, in the vein of all the other APL2 4-up save 10-man human teams that already exist in Kill Team, just with some slightly different stuff, and probably BS3, because they're Marines. Sort of. Right. Almost done. This room is dead. So I did a video and talked a fair bit about this recently, but the Eldar team isn't called the Tempest Guardians, and the Space Marine Scout team isn't called the Veteran Scouts. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that we can throw this model out, this rumour out. We can disregard it. I think it's a shame because I enjoyed the feeling of knowing everything before it was due to come out. Other people are relieved because they'd looked down the menu and went, "Oh, this doesn't excite me." So now we're back to the, it's. You've still got the next 3 Christmas mornings, of unwrapping your presents and finding out what there is. That's your prerogative. But yeah, this room's dead. Cool. Final thoughts. What did you think of the reveals? Let me know down in the comments. How's your Warhammer Day going? Have you actually been buying into? It's like Games Workshop's a company and they've tried to invent a day, but I've enjoyed spending the day mostly sitting and painting Warhammer, and then watching a Warhammer stream, talking about Warhammer on the Discord, making a video about Warhammer, and then later today, about 7:30, I will do a live stream, a random extra live stream for his Warhammer Day, and we can all talk about the Warhammer Day reveals together. So I'm having a great Warhammer Day full of Warhammer. Are you having a Warhammer Day full of Warhammer, or has somebody made you wash the dishes, or mow the lawn, or clean the car, or go to a museum, or some other thing that is a less Warhammery use of a Saturday, right? Do consider liking the video, subscribing, becoming a channel member. All these things are very useful. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We're trying to get to, eventually 10,000 subscribers, and we are like an order of magnitude behind that. So, every little helps. Every little helps. Thanks, guys, and I might see some of you later for a live stream. Cheerio.